Hello, I'm Stephen Cooley, and welcome to the Stephen Cooley Real Estate Show. On the Day Show, I'm very excited to have Bobby Sawyer on the show. Bobby is with Johannesmeyer and Sawyer, which are attorneys in town that represent a lot of different things, but a lot of people buying and selling real estate.
Yeah, it's one of the primary things we do, Stephen. We do three things at the firm: real estate, estate planning, and business planning. But really, a lot of our business comes from helping buyers and sellers at the closing table make sure that the transaction's smooth, make it a good closing experience for the buyers, so that it can be stressful.
Absolutely.
Signing that mortgage, we want to make sure that it's a happy time for them, and they walk out of the office, get the keys to the house, and start their life in their new home.
Well, you are our recommended attorneys to use for those real estate closings. Y'all doing a magnificent job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Helping our clients get their homes. And if you're moving from another state, an attorney's office may not have been involved in the close of real estate, but in South Carolina, they've said that attorneys are involved to make sure that all legal questions are answered and that y'all review the title and making sure that the buyer gets clear title.
That's correct. In South Carolina, they made that decision in part to protect the interests of the buyers and sellers, and more importantly, the buyers. Because when you're buying a house, you want to make sure that you get clear title, that someone else can't come along and claim that they bought the house before you did.
That's right.
Or let's say the seller had some renovations done and they didn't pay the contractor. And the contractor puts a lien on the house.
That's
well,
right.
if you buy that house and that's not caught, you've essentially bought a lawsuit.
Absolutely.
That contractor can now sue you, even though you didn't hire him to do that work. And so having an attorney involved in the process, having them look at the title, having them make sure that the mortgage documents, everything that goes along with the closing is in the best interest of the buyer is really advantageous, in my opinion.
And y'all do such a great job at that. And Bobby, let me just, also you said real estate closings and estate planning, and I want to hit on something because there's a little bit of estate planning that goes on at every real estate closing. And that's the decision that a buyer makes if they're going to own the home, if they're co-owning it with anyone else, if they're going to own it in joint tenancy or tenancy in common. And this is the decision you need to make when you're at the closing table buying the home. Joint tenancy or tenancy in common, which then goes into estate planning.
It does. And unfortunately, a lot of attorneys won't even bring it up. Or even maybe your agent even didn't bring it up, but based on my conversations with you, you're very aware of it, which is great, because that just makes it that much better for the buyer. Right. The two options: tenancy in common, joint tenants. Tenants in common, what it ultimately means, the decision between the two is what happens when you pass away.
And when you buy in real estate, you don't think about passing away, but when you do pass away and own real estate and you own it with someone else, which one you pick here will be very important. So let's explain the two differences between joint tenancy and tenancy in common.
So tenants in common, think of it as just two separate owners, and that when one of the owners passes away, that his interest in that property is going to go to whoever his legal heirs are, his or her legal heirs. Now, if he has a will, that's going to determine it. If he doesn't have a will, then the state of South Carolina has rules on where it's going to go.
That's right.
And so it can create lots of problems if you don't think about it ahead of time. Right. Now, with joint tenancy with rights of survivorship, with two people or three people, how many ever people own it, we'll just use two people. When that first person passes away, the survivor becomes the sole owner of the property. Right. So typically with a married couple, we recommend joint tenants right of survivorship.
That's right. And then the other spouse immediately becomes full owner of the property instead of children or other heirs.
Right.
And so that's crucial. And then when you own something with business partners, let's just say rental property and all that, you probably want your ownership of that to go to your heirs instead of the other owner. But just big decisions to make.
Big decisions to make, and a lot of people just they're not aware of it.
Right, and some attorneys are just checking one.
Yeah, they'll pick it. They won't ask. And so in a situation, particularly with a blended family, where
that's exactly right.
When someone's gone through a divorce, they've remarried, well, maybe they want their interest to go to their biological children and not the stepchildren or the other spouse's children and things along those lines. And so it's really important to have that conversation with your agent, with the attorney at the table, and certainly if the attorney doesn't bring it up, you need to ask that question specifically. What's this mean? What's tenants in common? What's joint tenants? What's all that other stuff?
And again, tenants in common is going to go to your heirs, deemed by your will or the state of South Carolina, and then joint tenancy with rights of survivorship will go to the other owner in full and not your heirs. Big decisions to make. Y'all do a beautiful job of explaining that. So I highly recommend Bobby and his group at Johannes Meyer and Sawyer's to do your real estate closing, estate planning, and business planning.
Business planning. Yeah, if you will, starting a business, you want to make sure, get into business with someone's like a marriage.
Yes.
And you want to make sure that, that even if things go wrong, that you have it all laid out in advance so that, when you sell the business or if it goes the other way.
As a small business owner, no one tells you what to do unless you hire someone like you guys who can step by step on making sure that you set up those things correctly.
Correct.
Let's tell folks how to reach you guys at your law firm in case you're having a real estate closing, you need some estate planning or business planning. Give Bobby and his group a call at Johannes Meyer and Sawyer's. How do you reach you guys?
So our phone number is 803-396-3800. You can catch us online at jandspllc.com.
Great, and we'll show that website under us right now. Thank you so much for your expert legal advice on today's show.
Thank you, Stephen.
We've got beautiful homes for sale in your area. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. I hope you've enjoyed watching the Stephen Cooley Real Estate Show. If you're interested in advertising your business on the program, please give us a call at 803-326-2777. Join us next week for more discussions on real estate topics and help in finding your perfect home. Thanks for watching.